Hi, everybody. It's episode 398 of PodQuest.
Hey.
We're almost at 400, and it is Wednesday, March 30th, 2022. I'm Chris. With me is Walnut.
You know what? I just realized we should have watched 300 for episode 4.
Well, I mean, really, we should have watched 300 for episode 300, but that wasn't a thing back then, so...
Yeah, which is why we should do 300 for 400. It'd be funny.
Yeah, actually, Drew pointed out to me the week leading up to us doing Blade Runner that we should have watched that in June because June will be the 40th anniversary of Blade Runner.
It's still a bad movie, so...
Says you.
Correction, it's still a boring-ass fucking movie, so it wouldn't change.
You don't like dramatic movies, that's all.
I just... Something needs to
don't.
happen.
That's what I mean, you don't...
Something needs to happen. Why am I watching this if nothing happens?
You don't like story-driven narrative.
I just don't like it when nothing happens in that story narrative. Nothing happened. It just felt like nothing happened.
Do you like the movie Big Fish?
Yeah, I actually loved that movie. I thought it was beautiful.
That is the epitome of a movie that has nothing, that does nothing. It's just one story after another, and it's fantastic.
But it's a movie about a bunch of different stories, and all the stories have meaning and have something to them. I didn't get anything from Blade Runner. Got nothing from Blade Runner.
Because you don't like good cinema. You like Godzilla.
I mean, I just said that I like Big Fish.
A one-off here and there, I'll give you, but
And then you're gonna sit here and say I don't like good cinema, but then I love the Fast and the Furious, so
Oh no, look, don't get me wrong, I love Fast and Furious. Those are terrible fucking movies.
Nah, they are the premium cream of the crop of Hollywood cinema.
What was the last one you saw?
Fate.
Okay, you did. I didn't think you saw Fate for some reason.
I think because that's the one where Dom leaves, right?
Yeah, he betrays the family.
Villain. He betrays the family. Yeah. I saw Fate. I haven't seen what is it? The spin-off with The Rock and
Hobbs and Shaw.
Most recent one. Yeah, I didn't see Hobbs and Shaw. I didn't see the most recent one.
Yeah, Fast and Furious 9 was honestly. I thought Hobbs and Shaw was better than 9.
Mm-hmm.
9 was just kind of meh. Also,
yeah.
Oh no, I did introduce us. Never mind.
Yeah, we were introduced.
I don't know. It's been a long week, and it's only Wednesday.
It's been a long week. Absolutely. I am just tired.
Right there with you. The weather turning from spring into winter again doesn't help.
No, not at all. Not at all. And then just allergies are really they were bad, then they're good, then they're bad, then they're good, then they're bad, then I'm over it. I'm done. Can it just be boiling hot summer so I stay in my house all day?
Oh, see, I haven't gotten hit with allergies yet.
No, my eyes have been... My one eye. It's not both of them. It's just my one eye has been killing me off and on. When we recorded... Or not recorded. We played D&D on Saturday. And for the first half of the day, my eye was killing me, and it was bloodshot red. And then as we started to... I left to go to you guys, it started to clear up. But then yesterday while playing Deep Rock Galactic, my eye again started to just burn and bother me. And it's I don't know if it's allergy related or if it's something else related, but it's not. I think it's allergy related. I don't know.
I mean, that sounds allergy related, and allergies suck, so I get it. Mine will get bad sometime in April. April is usually when it picks up for me.
I think for me, it's, I don't think it's pollen as much as it's mold.
Oh, mine's not pollen. It's something, I guess it's technically pollen, but it's two specific types of pollen.
Mm-hmm. I'd have to get an allergy test to know exactly what's affecting. But I don't think it's pollen. I think it's more mold. And as it starts to warm up, anything that's been sitting on the ground or whatever starts to get kicked up. The everything starts to dry out and elevate essentially, and that's where it starts to bother me.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. But I guess, do you want to get into it?
Yeah, we can get into it. We can start off with a PlayStation Plus announcement.
What's on the agenda?
The agenda.
You're just jumping all around.
The agenda involves a PlayStation Plus announcement. I actually got to play a decent amount into some Back 4 Blood, so we're gonna have a little bit of talks because we all played that back when it was in
the beta or whatever.
Beta testing, but we haven't really played it since. Then we're gonna talk about Nobody Saves the World. apparently there's a horse quest or something. I don't really know. Cobb, you got that. Moon Knight premiered today, which I have not gotten to watch, so Cobb has some words on it. Black Clover and One Piece, and then we'll just throw down a book club reminder of Ip Man on 4/14.
Yeah. The PlayStation Plus stuff finally got revealed.
Yeah.
It's been rumored for a while. It's I forget exactly what they're calling it. Before it had Spartacus, I want to say is what the code was for it.
I have no idea. I wasn't following too much into it because my thing is, like, if it's not really available on PC, I don't really care too much right now. And it's not really available on PC, so I don't really care.
What a fucking nerd.
I didn't follow. Well, like, I didn't follow. Not trying to be like on PC Master Race, but it's more of.
No, that's 100% what you just said.
No, it's not because PCs are better. It's not. You know that. It's. I want it on I want access to it on PC so I can stream these games easier than having to buy an Elgato, a new capture card, basically. I think
they're only like $200. It's fine.
Yeah, only. My capture card works fine for Switch. I don't know how well it'll work for anything else, like the PlayStation.
I mean, that's because it's not really a capture card, isn't it? Just more like a pass through.
Yeah, it's just like a dongle that connects to the PC, and then that connects to an app on the PC where it can play. So it's like a second screen or something, but it works fine for the Switch. I'm just afraid to see how good or bad it'll work on the PlayStation.
That's fair. But as far as so there's been a rumor since like late last year that Sony was looking to revamp or otherwise restructure their PS Plus and PlayStation Now offerings. Yeah. And the general consensus was it was going to be something akin to Game Pass. And that's exactly what this is. With like some noticeable differences and not necessarily bad differences, just differences. It's, I guess first off is these changes are coming in June. So there's a little bit of time before they actually go into effect, but they're breaking up PlayStation Plus into 3 different tiers now instead of just PlayStation Plus for $60 a year, and that gets you the couple of free games a month plus online play and cloud backups. That is still the base tier. That's going to be called PlayStation Plus Essential, and that will still be the 2 monthly downloadable games, which is usually, I don't know. So that's one thing I don't know. I don't know if it's going to drop to only 2 games, because like since the PS4, I think we've always had more than 2. It's been like 2-ish per platform, like with an asterisk. Because like right now we get like 2 PS4 and like a PS5 game. But
yeah, and that reminds me, GTA 5 online is free only until the end of March. I need to install that. Yeah. But it's only on the PS5, and you have to get it through the PS5 store, not through the app.
Oh, I hate when they do that. But yeah, so you'll still get 2 free games. You'll get the exclusive discounts, the cloud storage, online play. All that stuff stays the same. Price is the same: $59.99 a year, $9.99 a month, or $24.99 quarterly. In the U.S., obviously, the rest of the world, the prices break out a little differently. But then the first new tier is PlayStation Plus Extra, which all the essential stuff, plus it's going to add in somewhere in the vicinity of 400 PS4 and PS5 games, including previous PlayStation Studio titles. So nothing, like, it's not going to be day and date the way Game Pass is. Like, you're not going to get the next, like, Spider-Man day and date on this service as of right now. But there's a good chance that, like, 2018 Spider-Man may be on.
Oh, it's most likely going to. It's like, it's first and third party games that are going to be available on this service. Which I'm excited to see what kind of third party games will be available, because I don't think Game Pass has a lot of third party game accessibility.
No, like most of their stuff is third party.
Is it? Or I thought it was all like, because Microsoft owns so many goddamn studios at their studios. No,
it's like 90% third party. Because like they own a lot of studios, but they don't own a lot of studios that put out a lot of games per se. So like Bethesda, they have a pretty deep catalog because their stuff is playable on all of the Microsoft platforms. But they have plenty of stuff that's just full on third party. Like Guardians of the Galaxy and Death's Door and all that stuff are all third party.
Yeah.
And these games will be downloadable, which is a big deal because PlayStation Now originally launched as like a streaming only, and they only in the last like year or two offered some downloadable stuff. Mm-hmm. So now they're offering this stuff to download the same way Game Pass would do it.
Yeah.
And now the pricing for this in the US, it's going to be $14.99 a month, $39.99 quarterly, or $99.99 yearly. Which I want to say $15.99 is what Game Pass Ultimate is right now.
Yeah. So Game Pass Ultimate for a total year is roughly $180. It's like it's $14.99 or $15.99, something like that. So you're even with this deal, like, which is the more equivalent to Game Pass Ultimate, like, you're already kind of saving money at this point.
Oh yeah. With all of these things, the yearly cost is actually a significant discount. So
yeah,
even so at $10 per month for the essentials, like the low level one, that would be $120 a year versus the $60 that it's costing. And similar to what you just said, at $15 monthly, that would be about $180 a year, and they're only charging $100. And I don't think Game Pass I don't think there is any discount if you pay upfront for that. I think it's just
Game Pass does not have like a yearly rate or anything.
Yeah. And then
like I'm currently paying $10 a month for PC Game Pass. Otherwise, if I could do 120 flat, I'd just do 120 flat. Or if it was like 100 flat.
Yeah, exactly. Like in this case, like unless you cannot do it or you don't want to keep it long term, like if you just wanted to dip in for a month and check it out, the yearly is definitely worthwhile for all three of these.
Yeah.
And then the top tier, PlayStation Plus Premium, everything from the other two tiers, it's going to add another 340 plus minus additional games. This is going to include PS3 games for streaming. So you'll only be able to do cloud streaming with that, which that's a bummer for me because I feel like the PS3 catalog is the one that I have the least I didn't go as deep with PS3 games as Sony's other platforms. I really only played like the big the really known quantities, and I know there were a lot of like weird little PS3 games, both Sony first party and third party, that like I just never got around to that generation.
Yeah.
And I don't want streaming at all. Like my internet is Comcast. Comcast is garbage. And at some point, I said this in our group chat. At some point, in where we live, they are going to instate their data caps, which they already have around the country. And like my data almost hits the cap every month anyway because I both work from home and don't have cable, so everything we watch is streaming.
Yeah.
So like I can't afford to play games also streaming on that same download.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. From what I'm hearing, apparently it's quote really hard to emulate the PlayStation 3 hardware and to emulate games PlayStation 3 or for the PlayStation 3, and Sony just doesn't want to put the money down to figure it out.
And I've heard that too, but like there's a bunch of people on the internet that figured this out years ago.
Yeah, and that's I was gonna say like there's a lot of people out there who know how to do this. It's not hard. It's just maybe it might not be the most efficient way or anything, but Sony doesn't want to put the money down to do it, and it is bullshit that they don't. But
like from everything that like has kind of been shown over the years about the PlayStation 3, it was a fucking disaster of hardware. Like, like look at how many revisions they had where they kept actually changing like the hardware for it. And like early models were able to do backwards compatibility, later models couldn't. I don't think no version of the PS4 I think was backwards compatible with PS3, right?
I think there was a backwards compatible PS3 at launch, but that was very
PlayStation 4 backwards compatible with PS3.
Oh, no, there wasn't. There was no backwards compatibility with PS4 at all. Like that was
okay.
I remember that was one thing people really hated with the PS4 versus Xbox One era was there was no backwards compatibility.
That's what I thought, but I was like drawing a blank and I didn't want to speak out of turn. And I mean, to be fair, like the Xbox One also launched with no backwards compatibility. Microsoft just figured out how to emulate their shit on their hardware.
Which is what Microsoft always did. Like even with the 360, like, I don't think 360 launched with backwards compatibility.
It did.
For
that
everything,
one definitely did.
But, like, I think certain things weren't backwards compatible at start, at least.
So I know, at least with the PS3, it was built on that cell architecture and just isn't compatible with fucking anything at all. Which is why that the PS3 360 era games, not all games, like plenty of games ran good on both platforms, but depending on what platform the game was developed for, you usually had a noticeable difference in quality. Like, if it was developed for PS3, it was really good on PS3. If it was developed for Xbox, it was better on Xbox. And just to, like, they did such a bad job engineering the PS3 that, like, the original generation of it was hardware backwards compatible with PS1 and PS2. And then 2 years in, they're like, oh yeah, this is really expensive. We're going to make it cheaper, but we're also going to have to take out backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised at this because it's, especially like Sony in 2022 just does not give fucks about consumers. They have kind of shown that time and time again. Though, like, the pricing for this, while I don't, like, I'd like it to be a little cheaper. Like, again, like, they're giving you a nice fucking discount for doing it yearly. But aside from the PS3 cloud streaming, it's also going to add PS1, PS2, and PSP games that will be available for streaming and download.
Yeah.
Now, it's totally possible that that catalog of games could be, like, you know, Game 1 is downloadable, but Game 2 is only streamable. We don't know for sure how that'll break out, but at least some of them will be both downloadable and streamable. And I hope that means games like Persona 3 or like Persona 3 Portable, like the sort of upgraded version of it, becomes available, or just like some older PS2 games even.
I was saying the Dot Hack series. It's a series I've always wanted to play and get into, but never did back in the day. That, like, if they were to release them with this feature, that'd be fantastic. But I doubt we'd get Dot Hack in this.
Like, those games would be cool. The Bouncer, for whatever reason, like, the Bouncer's not, like, a particularly memorable game, but I do remember having fun with it as, like, if it wasn't a launch title for PS2, it was a very early title. And then, there's a lot of good, like, JRPGs on, like, the PS1 and PS2. Like, you have, like, all the Final Fantasies from that era. Things like Tactics and, Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics, Legend of Dragoon.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
the whole Legend of Dragoon people would freak out if Legend of Dragoon was available.
Yeah, the only downside to this, and honestly, like, I say it's the same thing, it's a downside to Game Pass, is this stuff isn't available on any sort of portable platform.
Yeah.
Like, I would love it if Sony still did a portable thing and this subscription worked on, like, a Vita also, and any games that the Vita was capable of playing, which is basically everything up to at least the PS2, would theoretically be, like, playable. Yeah, but there's also a bunch of PSP games that were cool, like Guitaru Man, which there was also a PS2 version of that game.
I have no idea what that game is.
It was
honestly, I believe the only games I had for PSP were, like, Crisis Core, Dissidia, and maybe Tactics.
So Guitaru Man was, like, this weird, like, rhythm game sort of thing that was very... It was very, like, mid-2000s, like, Japanese. I don't know how else to describe it. It was goofy. Every level was, like, this different, like, interstellar, like, rock thing. And it had, like, a weird story, and it's been, like, 20 years since I played it, but I remember really enjoying those games.
Yeah, that's right. I had Patapon, which that would be cool to replay.
They have released new Patapon games in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I just, like, I didn't have a Vita, and I'm not going to play that on anything besides handheld. I'm sorry. That's a handheld game.
Yeah, that's valid.
To me, that's not a console game. It's not a sit down and play game. It's I'm on a trip game.
Yeah, no, I mean that's valid. But let's see. Other than the games, so the one little thing that they do mention here for this tier, the games offered for streaming are only available in territories where PlayStation Now is available, and the streamable games will be streamable on PS4, PS5, and PC. So, like, for Rich, for you, like, like you don't have a data cap, you have Verizon, which is pretty reliable. Like you could pay for the higher tier here and play some of these games on your PC for like your streams.
Oh yeah, but I think they're pushing that as like the remote play, which I tried doing that once from my PS4 to my PC. This is with my older PC as well, and there was just you need to play no better than 720, otherwise it's going to be a delay, and it wouldn't really be all that worth it to do that if that is how they're going. If they're going like an actual online like service, then it might be a little bit different. But if they're saying like remote play, it probably won't be worth it.
So I think there is actually like a way to do it natively on the console, on like the PC, but also remote play actually works way better. I think it was just your PC was garbage. Your new PC would probably be a much better experience, especially like your new PC to your PS5, whereas like you were on a old slow PC using a launch PS4.
Yeah.
Like you were kind of setting yourself up for failure there.
Yeah. and I do want to try it out because I want to play the new Returnal update. I want to try that out. I want to play around with that. The streaming service on the PlayStation 5 is fine, but I don't have a camera to go with it, and it's just like I'm missing out on a bunch of features than if I were to do it on my PC.
Yeah, which I totally understand. So let's see. You're gonna get in that tier. The last thing you'll get is time limited game trials. So customers can try select games before they buy them. Which I feel like this was a thing that they sort of alluded to just being available for everybody. But apparently it's going to be limited to only people on the highest tier of PS Plus, which that's a bummer.
Wait, what was that one again? I'm sorry. What was the feature?
Time-limited game trials will be offered in the tier.
Yeah, that's only for the PS Plus Ultimate ones, like the highest tier yet.
Yeah, premium, which when they originally were like beta testing that whole thing, it seemed like that was going to just be a feature that like everyone would get. So it kind of sucks that you now have to spend the most to get the ability for trials. But it is what it is. The cost for this tier is $18 a month, $50 a quarter, or $120 a year. So again, like it's a pretty big discount to do yearly, which like that part's not bad. Like $120 for a year like isn't awful. I pay that much for Dropbox and I think Amazon. So, you know, depending on the person, if you're going to play games like these like older games and then also play the free games, it's actually a very worthwhile like subscription, I would say. I am at least for short term just sticking with the essentials. The only reason I really have PS Plus is for cloud storage. I grab the 2 games or however many games there are every month, but I very rarely even bother downloading them because they're usually either older or stuff that I just didn't care about to begin with, so whatever. And like I don't know if this will be as seamless as Game Pass, where I could just like turn different levels on and off as I wanted it. Because like I don't know that I'd want like the premium for a full year. Like, like I said, 120 isn't bad, but like I will probably try those old games once just as a like, okay, yeah, no, this works. Like it's functional. I remember this game being a thing, and then never do it again because I have shelves of games that I own that I haven't finished.
Yeah, and that's my things. I want to see what's available before I go for it. The big reason I'm all in on Game Pass is because it's the new games.
Exactly.
Like, it's the new first-party titles that come out that I can play. And yeah, I haven't played Halo, but I could. I played Forza. I was pumped for that. I had Back 4 Blood that I could have played. Like, there are a bunch of games that I had access to that I could have played if I wanted to. I haven't. I played older games instead, but it's still, like, that's what Game Pass... So that's what got sold me onto Game Pass, whereas the PlayStation Plus changes, since they're not the new games, I'm not 100% sold on it, because I don't know what's going to be available.
Yeah, and Jim Ryan...
like you said...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like you said, like, $120 is not a bad price if you plan on playing at least one of those games, like, a month minimum, and I might not end up touching those games, like, at all.
Exactly. It's like, I am willing to spend $60 a year for cloud storage, because, like, I don't play online. Like, I've played online games maybe 5 times in the last decade on my PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that does not matter to me at all. And like I was just saying, like, I very rarely touch the free games. So, like, I'm basically paying for cloud storage in case my console dies. I don't want to lose my saves.
Yeah.
Xbox cloud storage is free. Like, you don't pay for that as part of, like, Live or Game Pass. So, I don't mind just sort of, like, subscribing and unsubscribing to Game Pass. Like, if I'm going to be playing games on it, I subscribe. If I'm not, I just unsubscribe. Like, I don't lose anything by unsubscribing. I just, if I have games installed that are Game Pass games, they won't play until I resubscribe. But as soon as I do, they're playable again. Like, I don't have to re-download them. Maybe there's a patch, but that's about it. And that's only if the game happened to be patched. Whereas, like, for this, it's like, oh yeah, no, like, I am in this for a year, or I lose my fucking cloud saves. I'm kind of in the same boat with Nintendo. Like, I only pay for the base subscription because I want cloud saves. Like, I get nothing else really useful from that, because other than Mario and Zelda, I don't really touch any of the old games, because, like, I'm not really fond of a lot of them. Like, and Metroid. Mario, Zelda, and Metroid. I touched those 3 games. Everything else is kind of like, it's a lot of garbage and a lot of stuff that I just don't have any, like, nostalgia or interest in. So, like,
yeah,
I'm paying.
I'm kind of the same. Like, I've tried a bunch of the stuff on there, but, like, anytime I did, like, just a random retro night, it'd be like Mario, Wrecking Crew, and then I'd be all in Wrecking Crew for the entire time. And it's just like, I'm this, like, I don't have, like you, I don't have strong nostalgia for these older games.
And, like, to be fair, like, I have nostalgia for a lot of older games. It's not the games that Nintendo is able to get for these platforms, because, like, the games that I would want to play are owned by third parties that just keep packaging them in bundles and selling them on modern platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't, like, completely legitimately, most of the stuff in both the NES and SNES packages are utter garbage. Like, they're games that 90% of the people have never heard of. Nobody fucking wants to play them. And half of that thing is just padded out by special editions of other games.
What are you talking about? Hyperboat Cruiser Battle. What are you saying that's not a game people want to play? Exactly.
Thank you for making my point for me.
That was the point of that.
I know.
Yeah, there are a bunch of just, like, not the games that you would think of with a Nintendo. Like, I'm surprised they didn't throw in, because they could easily do it, what's it called? Like a Duck Hunt or something. They could easily do Duck Hunt with the Wii, or well, not Wii, with the Joy-Cons.
That would require them to actually put in some sort of development. They're not doing any development on these games. They're maybe adding, like, an online mode in some cases, but otherwise they're just going, like, here's a ROM we downloaded off the internet, because we're not actually dumping our own ROMs.
Yeah. And that's basically what PlayStation's doing with their PlayStation 3 games. They're like, here's just access our servers. It's easier.
Yeah. I am legitimately still, I want to see what the catalog looks like when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am actually legitimately interested to see, like, what games are they offering? And, like, if there are a ton of, like, old games on there that, like, I would like to just, like, dip in and out of, that I think I will dip in and out of on any sort of basis, I might go for the yearly upgrade for the premium. But, like, until they show us that full catalog and we sort of get an idea of how it's going to work, I'm going to just stick with my cloud save only one.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty much saying, if I were to decide if there were 4 games that I were to decide I want to play or try or get back into with this service, I'll just go for the year and leave it at that. But, like, I'll make sure it's not set to auto renew, because if I only play it 2 or 3 times over the course of a year, just wasted my money. I'm not going to go back to it. But if they do end up, like, giving us the new games, or maybe the new games aren't too far off. So, for instance, Game Pass just got Guardians. Guardians is not that old of a game. that, all right, maybe that'll be worth it.
Yeah, and that's definitely where I'm going to be, like, I'm going to be a little more like, is this worth it? Because like I said before, with Game Pass, I'm not losing anything by canceling and renewing.
Yeah.
PlayStation, if I cancel, I lose my cloud saves, which is the only reason I have it to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's definitely more, like, Xbox kind of has the advantage there, where it's like, I have an Xbox. If there's a new non-Xbox game that comes to Game Pass, like, and PlayStation, I'd rather just get it on Game Pass, where, like, I can just subscribe for 1 month or 2 or 3 or whatever, play the games I want to play, drop it, and, like, not lose anything at all.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
And, like, in a lot of cases, at least in my case, I should say, a lot of older games, unless it's something very rare or, like, a series of things, there is a chance I either already own it or can just go buy it. Like, unless it's, like, if it's, like, a $60, like, rare game on, like, PS1 or PS2, I'm happy to just drop the buck, like, the money to grab it. Like, over 100 is where I'd be like, I'm okay. But, like, it's not that hard to find a lot of these games, like, online right now. And I have the consoles to play them. So, like, if I wanted to play them bad enough, like, I can just hook up a PS2 and fucking play the game. But, yeah, I'm interested to see kind of just what the catalog looks like.
Yeah, me too. It's, like, the prices aren't bad, and I'm totally down for it, as long as it's a good catalog. That's really what it is. Otherwise, I'm just going to stick with my monthly PS Plus basic version, just to get the monthly games. Yeah,
exactly. And cloud saves and online play. Because those are things that you probably actually use.
I haven't turned my PlayStation on in 6 months. Like,
no, but, like, there are things that, like, you have played on PlayStation online with other people.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Last time I played anything online with people was maybe back in July, August, maybe September. I did some Fall Guys with my cousin. Like, that's it. Like, I used to do Division, like, once every other week or so with some friends. We haven't touched that in a few months. Like, at
least 6, because you haven't turned your PlayStation on in that long.
Yeah. Like, my PlayStation Plus at the moment is basically my Final Fantasy 14 subscription. Like, I don't touch it. I could just cancel it right now, and I'd miss out on the games, but, like, I'm not playing them. I'm not going to the system to play them, because I've had so much and have so much to play. It's kind of a waste, and the only reason I do keep it is because we get those free games each month. It's $10 to get a free game each month.
I mean, it's less than $10 because you pay yearly, right?
No, I think I paid monthly.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I think I had it set to pay yearly, but then, like, 1 year I didn't have the money, and so then I just was like, all right, just do monthly, and just left it. I don't know. I have to actually check. I might not have actually paid for it in, like, 2 years or 3 years, because I bought a bunch of PS Plus cards, and just stacked the time on it or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a possibility too.
I did that a lot. Like, anytime there was a PS Plus card that was on sale for less than $60 or whatever, or like for less than whatever a year would be worth, I bought it and added it to my time.
I mean, which is not a bad idea.
No, not at all. It was a great deal. I think I even did it for a couple of friends too. Like, hey, here, happy birthday or whatever. It's a year of PS Plus, which you already paid for. He's like, well, I'm already paid up for a year. Well, now you got 2. There you go.
Yeah, just tack it on. It's fine. You just add a little extra time to it.
Exactly. I paid for next year's. You got it. You're good.
Just
it's
accept
only like $20.
Just accept the gift, goddammit.
Exactly. Don't fight it. Just take it.
Well, would you like to talk a little bit about Back 4 Blood?
So, yeah, you guys have heard of this game, Back 4 Blood, right? It's a little known game from WB Studio. I don't know. It's WB made it. But it's from the creators of the original Left 4 Dead. Obviously, if you don't know anything else about it, you're probably living under a rock. But it's been available on Game Pass pretty much since launch, and there was a Humble Bundle for it but there was a Humble Bundle for Ukraine that ended last week. That was like $40. You get like $1,200 worth of games or something like that and content. And Back 4 Blood was one of them. So since last week, we've been playing it. And I like what I play. It is an enjoyable game. It is fun. The gunplay and the gameplay is fun. We've all experienced that. But getting further into it, learning more about the cards and how the card system works, that's also very intuitive because you can build up a deck, and as big or as small as you want. You can just limit it to the same 5 cards that you grab like one card each round, and you just grab the same couple, and it just keeps rotating through them. Or you can have 15 cards and try to get 15 different, or have all 15 different for your loadout. It's up to you, and the card system is really cool, especially since there's like a, quote, nemesis card system where the enemies also draw different cards to make them harder for each round and act. It's all fun. I'm not really sharing much anything new because we all played it. We all played the demo. I enjoyed it. I think Druten didn't hate it, which is a shock.
I think he was like, this is fine. I thought it was whatever. Like it's a multiplayer game. Like it's a team based multiplayer game, but still like I don't want to play with other people. So like I was kind of just it played well. Like I didn't dislike it, but I was never going to play it again.
Yeah, and so like storyline is it's Left 4 Dead. So there's not really a major storyline, but the idea is like the first level that you play through, the first act you play through is like clearing up the zombies in the general area, and then each act after that, or each couple of chapters after that, is like expanding further out and trying to find someone who knows how to kill off the zombie horde. And this, like, it's fine. Like, the objectives are very similar. It's like, just get from point A to point B, do this thing, and get back to point A, and whatever. Gameplay loop is fun. It's fine. Like, I don't hate it. What I do hate, what I've come to not really be happy with, is we played through, there was 4 acts, and we played through nearing the end of Act 3. I think there was... So, like, each act is also broken up into chapters, and each chapter is broken up into stages. We made it through to the last chapter of Act 3, which has, 3 levels in it. But Act 1, you make it to the area that you're playing in Act 3.
Oh.
So, as you play through Act 1, you're going to the city. You're going to the diner. You're going to the church. You're going to the mines, all in Act 1. And then in Act 2, you go to the mines, or you go through the city, and you do things in the city, and then you go to this area in the mines or something like that. And then in Act 3, you go through the city again, and then you go to the church. And it's kind of annoying that they reuse. Like, it's fine to have, a central hub area, especially in an open world game. It's really fine to be like, alright, you're gonna continue to go through the same area. But in a level-based game like Back 4 Blood, I expect every level to be different. But the start of every act has you starting in the same spot of the game.
Okay.
And I don't like that, because you're reusing the same asset 3-4 times. And it's in a game that is supposed to be a replayable game that's supposed to feel fresh every time you play it. Each run is supposed to feel different. But I'm in Act 2, Chapter 1, Stage 1, and I'm in the city again when I was already in the city in Act 1, Chapter 2, Stage 1. Like, it's the same area. It's the same location. It's just something's a little bit tweaked. And the worst part was literally, I believe it was in Act 3, you're running through the city to get to a safe house that you unlocked in Act 1 to end the level in that safe house. And then in the next level, you go to the next area to get to the next safe house you unlocked in Act 1 as well. But you're in Act 3. But there's different zombies coming, and there's slightly different experiences going on, and I'm just like, how is this supposed to feel fresh if I've been to these areas already? What is the point of me? Why not just have me do everything all at once when I'm in each area?
Yeah, that does seem It's like they wanted to make the game longer, but didn't have the time or like resources to add more areas. So it's like, we're just gonna like have you go back through the same areas a couple times.
And it's like the areas are changed a little bit. A wall might have been taken down, so you're not really cutting around anymore. You're cutting straight through. But it's like, for the most, you're recycling the same assets. Like, it's fine to recycle the same monsters. That's fine, because that's how games work. Especially in a horde-based game like a Back 4 Blood or Left 4 Dead, you're gonna recycle those. But to recycle the same stage layout multiple times, it's lazy, in my opinion. And like, we were playing it on stream and I was complaining about it, and I'm openly saying like, now look, I don't know how to develop games, I'm not a game developer, but this is lazy. This is lazy right here.
So I wouldn't call it lazy as much as they tried to do more than they could, and they took shortcuts to try and make it happen. Because like making games is hard, and like odds are they were not given the time or budget to do what they wanted, but the studio heads wanted more. So they're like, all right, well, we're just going to have to go back and reuse some of these levels again.
Yeah, and it's a bummer because it is a good game, and everything works very well. Especially when you're playing with other people. It all combines together and works together very well. But it's a game that you're supposed to play over and over. It's not a one and done. You're supposed to do it on Recruit, the easiest difficulty, then the medium difficulty, then the hardest difficulty, then the next, and you're supposed to just go over and over to be able to get those, get the supply points, to buy more cards, to set up your loadout to be however you want it to be. But you can't do that. Or you can, but it's nothing as fresh. And it just, Left 4 Dead gave you 4 worlds, or 4 storylines basically, with different levels in each one. This is like, and each time you played it, it felt new. Even if you played it 100 times, it still felt new because it was a different level than everywhere else. Whereas in this one, it's not. And
yeah, and that game just seemed harder. Like the Back 4 Blood just seemed to have like weird difficulty spikes too.
Oh, it is. It does get very difficult at times, like especially with the cards that the enemies can draw. It makes it a lot more difficult from time to time. And it's also, I wish they had thought better, because the PvP aspect is 4-on-4. This game would be much better as an asymmetric PvP, or 1v4.
Yeah, and so I didn't even necessarily mean that, like, it had, like, just to be clear, I don't think that it gets progressively harder. I think, like, in levels, like an area of a level will be super easy and, like, there's no issue, and then all of a sudden you turn a corner and, like, the difficulty just ramps way up for no good reason.
Absolutely. Like, that's one of my bigger problems with the game, that it differs greatly from, Left 4 Dead, whereas like in Left 4 Dead, if you stand around, you'll get like the special zombies coming at you, but you're not going to get a horde. Whereas in Back 4 Blood, if you stand there for 10 minutes, you get a horde of zombies coming at you. If you stand around for too long, for more than a minute or two, a horde of zombies just comes at you out of nowhere. And like a lot of the objectives, like there's it's early on, it's Act 1, it's the second chapter. You have to go rescue people from like a supermarket, and the second you open the gate, the alarms go off and everything comes at you. But you could be dealing with everything coming at you the entire time, getting no breaks, running out of ammo. You open the gates and everything comes at you again, and the difficulty can just, like you said, like spike immediately, just out of nowhere.
Yeah, like the thing that comes to mind for me is like when I played it in that like demo beta period, whatever they're calling it, open access. There was I want to say it was like the 3rd level chapter, whatever they call them. Where like you make your way through a thing, you blow up like a gate to get through something, you make your way over like a broken highway to like a little encampment, and you get there and the person's like, "Oh yeah, you gotta fucking go blow up this boat over here."
Yeah.
And they don't really explain it very well. And like we tried it twice with the group before everyone just kind of like started quitting out, but because it was just a bunch of random people and no communication. But it was, we get there the first time, nobody realized that there were canisters we had to pick up to bring to the boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get to the boat, and even with the canisters, that thing is just a madhouse. Like, if you're not on a headset, like, actively coordinating, you have no chance of playing that level.
And that was that, we did that one last week, and I forgot that when you get to that point where you have to go blow up the boat, I forgot that you kind of got to stay there for a second once you pick up the bombs, because a horde of zombie comes at you. Because zombie hordes come at you constantly. It's not necessarily a survival horror game. It's not a horror game. It's an action game with zombies. And, like, it's just their constant, the second, like, they trigger a lot. They trigger way too much. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it ends up taking away from the game a bit. With how often I was going down, how often the zombie horde was coming, like, how hard it was to keep health up. And they have some neat concepts with trauma damage. I don't think there was trauma damage in Left 4 Dead's, but, like, you can only heal up so high unless you get to a medical kit, which then will heal the rest, unless you have the medic person who has the ability to heal trauma damage. And, like, there's a lot of different strategy, but if you're playing with if you're only playing with, like, one or two people, like, if it's you or you and one other person, the game's not going to be as good. It's going to be a lot more difficult. Like, one cool thing that they did do is if you die and it's, like, it's say you're playing co-op with one other friend and you die, your character flat out dies, you can jump into the body of somebody else, of one of the other computer players, until you find your character's body.
Okay, so I didn't realize that. That is actually nice.
Yeah, so, like, if I go down, like, and it's not being downed. Downed is, you're still in your body until they can res you. But if you die, you can jump into somebody else's body, which is really cool. It's a neat thing that they did, so this way you're not just sitting there watching. I spent, the first time I died watching, because I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna let me go back to my character that I was playing as, because they have the loadout that I wanted to use. So I sat there and waited until we got, at one point I was just like, fuck it, I'm bored. I jumped into the character's body, and once we found mine, it brought me to mine, which was cool. It's a neat game. It's got some cool concepts, and apparently they have an expansion coming out, like, in next week or in 2 weeks. The 14th, I think. So, that's supposed to add some new content, like some cave systems and shit like that, which might make it a little bit more fresh for people playing. And one cool thing is, not everyone needs to have it in order for everyone to play the content. So if one person buys the expansion, everyone can play the expansion with that person.
Oh, that is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, they just might not get all of the accessibilities or all the cards or whatever. I don't really know. But it's cool. It's a fun game. That and the fact that I can't unequip like, expansions to my guns. So, like, if I buy a gun or I find a gun on the ground that has a scope and I don't like that scope, I can't get rid of that scope. I have to keep that until I find a new one. And so there are times where you can't really aim down sights because you have an AK that has horrible handling and a sniper scope on it. Or you have a shotgun that has a sniper scope on it. It tends to be the thing that I was getting most, where are buying weapons that didn't deserve to have a sniper scope on it that has a sniper scope. So, like,
okay.
the customization of the game is really good. Being able to change out your loadouts. Like, they did a good job at making it feel like that Battle Royale style. But, like, in Apex, in PUBG, you can unequip a scope if it's a scope you don't want to use. Or the mods in general are just more frequent. And mods in this game just aren't that frequent.
Okay. So that's, yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought that game it was interesting, but yeah, I'm definitely never gonna dip into it again. So I guess you bought it?
Yeah, I got the Humble Bundle with a bunch of games on it. Yeah, there was a bunch of games. So, like, even, like, I think Dritten Loves the game Super Hot, that was on there. So, like, I'll be getting it. Like, there were so many games on this Humble Bundle that I had to add them in 2 spurts because I was adding them so fast. Steam said, "Whoa, you gotta stop." And, like, so I had to stop. There were a handful that I had, so one of them was, like, the Spyro trilogy, which I already owned, so I gave that to a friend. Another one was Monaco that I already owned, so I gave that to a friend. Let's see. I still have my list sorted by most recent. So games like Broken Age, Treasure Hunter Simulator, Nex Machina, Yuko's Island Express. There were some games like Corridor Z, which is just like a runner. There was a bunch of games on this thing. System Shock Enhanced and Classic. But yeah, so that's how I got it. I know it's also, I believe Back 4 Blood is also still available on Game Pass. It also had the Fable Anniversary Edition, so I got a bunch of stuff I'll be playing. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, also there's this game called This War of Mine, which I hear is both really good, but also very dark.
I have heard of that game. I believe that is the game that the developers, they may be Russian, they may just be like Eastern European, I forget exactly, but I think they kind of like put out something around the time that like everything was going on with Ukraine, where they were donating like a percentage of their stuff to a Ukraine charity.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Steam information, and they raised $850,000. Support victims of war in Ukraine.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
But like, I think that was even outside of the Humble Bundle. Like, they were just like, yeah, if you purchase this game, like, we are just going to donate money to charity for it.
Yeah. Let's see. Goodwill people. They just added hashtag fuck the war in their thing. Yeah. It's, I believe that the studio, 11-bit is the studio. Let's see, 11-bit Studios team statement today. Russian military forces attacked the free country of Ukraine, our neighbors. As Polish game studio and creators of the globally recognized anti-war game, This War of Mine, one that directly speaks about the suffering and misery of civilians who are affected by war, we'd like to hereby announce our company's statement. We stand against the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Just words would be empty without meaningful act, though, and the timing is crucial. So the act is as follows. Next 7 days, all profits from This War of Mine, all its DLCs on all stores and platforms will go to the Ukraine Fund.
Which, that's cool.
Yeah. Guess what Chrome just did to me?
Crash?
No, it signed me out of my email, my OneQuest email.
Yeah, that only happens to you.
I don't know. I can't explain it. I open this once a week, and it signs me out.
Do you sign in when you open it?
No.
Well, maybe that's why. Maybe it's just like the session's good for a week, and it just happens to be that like the session expires at this time each week.
Well, it's dumb. It's dumb. That's all I'm saying.
It only happens to you. You should just be ready for it next time. Anything else you want to say about Back 4 Blood?
It's definitely check it out. If you have Game Pass and you like playing with other people or have people to play it with, check it out. The what's it called? The crossplay works really well. So do it.
Nice. Where were we? Oh, so I played a game called Nobody Saves the World. Have you heard of this one?
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay, so it came out back in January. It is a like top-down, asymmetric-ish action role-playing dungeon crawling game.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to send you. Hang on a second. I don't know how to describe this artwork, but it reminds me of something.
I'm looking at it. It gives me some like slight Ren and Stimpy vibes, but also Castle Crashers.
That's it. Castle Crashers is definitely what I was thinking of.
Apparently, it's from the people who did Guacamelee. So
yeah, Guacamelee and Severed, and they've done a couple of other games. Drinkbox Studio. I actually like Drinkbox Studios. Like, I don't necessarily play all of their games for long, but like I think they make quality games generally.
Mm-hmm.
They made the game. So the game Severed, which was it was a Vita game originally that was all touchscreen on the Vita.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a first person like dungeon exploration game where you fought enemies by slashing on the screen, and like you'd have to slash like against like the enemy's like weak spot. Basically, it was a cool concept. It ended up getting ported all over the place, but the Vita is where it like originally launched.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Nobody Saves the World. You play as Nobody, which if you're looking at like the game art, that's like the nondescript, just like white humanoid looking thing.
Yeah.
And early on in the game, you find a magic wand that lets you then turn into other things. So the first thing you're able to turn into is a rat. And then you unlock other things. Like I have a ranger, which is like a female-looking character with a bow and arrow. I have a knight, which is like a big guy in like armor with a sword. I can turn into a slug and into a horse now. And it's basically like kind of Zelda-esque in a way where like when you're out in the world, there's just like some towns you walk into and people say like stuff that's a little hard to follow a lot of times. Like a lot of times they're just kind of like speaking. Like they're not necessarily telling you anything important. And then when you're out in like the world outside of towns, there's like enemies to fight, and you get coins and other currency from them that you can use at vendors to buy like power-ups for defense and attack and magic and all that stuff. Or you can actually even use it to buy it's a pseudo currency just called stars, and it's basically kind of like Mario 64, like how you need stars to unlock the Bowser levels and whatnot. That's kind of what these are. Like, you need these stars to unlock the, like, main dungeon of an area. Or, like, in some cases, just, like, certain doors you need them for. So, you get those by completing quests and by completing dungeons. Generally, a dungeon will have a quest assigned to it. And, like, a lot of the quests are, you know, characters give you quests, like, go here and help them clear out these things. And, like, you know, very, very, like, traditional, like, action RPG stuff. But then you also get class-specific stuff, which all of your transformations are essentially job classes. You're changing from a range-based, like, bow and arrow user to a knight. The slug is slow, but has a actually very relatively fast and somewhat powerful ranged attack that it doesn't work immediately. You actually need to be able to hold the button in to charge it up first. But once you've charged it up, it's just rapid fire. Like, as long as you're holding the button, it just keeps firing. Okay. And the rat also has a bite attack and then a consume attack that actually heals you. So like the way the combat ends up working is every character starts out with one active attack and then some sort of like secondary passive ability. And generally the attack they have has some sort of element adjacent thing assigned to it, like dark, light, slashing, poison, whatnot. Certain enemies have basically have like shields for things that you have to attack them with the specific type of energy in order for it to be able to do damage to them. And like once you've hit them with that type of energy, you can hit them with anything, and it'll damage them. But as you level up things, you end up getting secondary attacks, and I haven't unlocked any third attacks yet. But the secondary attacks generally consume some of your mana, and your basic attack, as long as you're hitting things, replenishes it. So it's this sort of like run around cat and mouse thing where you're going to be using your basic attack a whole bunch to regain your mana, and then use your secondary attack to kind of do like a bigger, more damaging attack. And in the case of the rat, that attack also heals you. So it's this weird sort of back and forth of getting in close because like it's a rat, so it has to bite them. So getting in close and hitting them a bunch of times with just your basic attack, which luckily with the rat also inflicts poison. Which in order to inflict like status ailments, there's just a little emblem that appears over the enemy's head, and when it fills up, they have that status ailment until it ticks down. But you know, you run up to an enemy, you hit them a bunch of times with the rat to regain some mana, and then you back up and you hit the secondary attack, and usually these secondary attacks will actually hit multiple people. So, like, I might hit, like, 3 or 4 enemies with my secondary attack and then heal, not a ton of damage, but, like, a good chunk of it. It comes in really handy against, like, bosses. Because you can kind of pull out some of the squishier characters that are just maybe a little quicker, a little more, do a little more damage. And then, if you get hit a few times, you just swap over to the rat, hit them with Chomp a few times, or, I'm sorry, not Chomp, Consume a few times, and get that health back up. Yeah. But it's got a really fun style. It's apparently the sort of narrative that's given to you at the beginning of it is the wizard has gone missing. He's the most powerful wizard in the world. You go into his mansion, and his apprentice, who is just a total douchebag, is there. His name's Randy. And the first thing he does is like, oh, go make me a coffee, and gives you a very like Karen coffee order. And then like bitches at you when you don't immediately have the coffee for him. But you'll eventually, like, if you look around the house, you find the wand with the note that says, Randy, take this wand and, like, come get me. And you end up keeping the wand, and then Randy flushes you down into, like, the basement in a very, like, Jabba the Hutt trap door thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you're just kind of like on your own, wandering around. As you level up, you unlock the different transformations. My favorite one. So I put this in the outline. After you get out of the so you have when you're first out in the world and you've gotten the ability to transform and like attack and everything. You make your way to this castle. The king's outside of it, and he's basically like, "Hey, a thing is taken over, but we need like this many star things to be able to open it up. There are 2 dungeons in these 2 corners. Go do them, and maybe you'll get enough stars that you can then come back here and get into my castle and help me clear it out." So one of the dungeons is like a horse mine, I think they called it. And when you finish that up, when you beat the boss in there, you end up freeing all of these horses that were being held captive. And right after you do that, if you look at your quests, you suddenly have a quest called like True Love or something like that. So you leave the dungeon and you kind of like talk to people. You walk around a little bit. I want to say it's the knight. Once you level up the knight like 1 or 2 more times, your next transformation is a horse. So you take that horse, you go back over to where the horses are, and there's one with an exclamation point over its head, meaning like he has a quest or something for you. And you talk to this horse, and it plays out this like weird little like inner monologue love story about how like you never knew what true love was until you saw this horse. And then like that quest completes and like you're on your way, but you can go back and like interact with them as long as you're a horse. And like it just says something like you lay your head gently across the nape of his neck. And it's just like, this is so weird, but like so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a few other things that are like character specific with how they interact. So your like default nobody form is just this like nondescript naked white humanoid. And every time you talk to somebody in that form, they basically ask you why you're not wearing pants.
I mean, that's a good question. Why aren't you wearing pants? You should probably be wearing pants.
Yeah, you wake up in like an abandoned house in like a village and don't know how you got there is like how the game opens up. Because it's got a lot of like comic book narration where there will be like a text prompt and it'll basically be telling you like what a text block that's non-narration or that's non-dialogue in a comic would be telling you. Like either something internal for the character or something like an omniscient narrator would be telling you to set like a thing up for you.
Okay.
But then there's a guy that he only wants to fight a rat. So when you go talk to him as a rat, he's like, "I'm Ratbane, and like I will kill any rat in one hit." And if you say "I'm ready," he punches you, you die, you respawn at the closest at your last save point. I assume at some point I will have either gotten more health or gotten some ability that I will be able to interact with him and he won't kill me in one punch, and that will complete his quest.
I think I was watching the trailer, and I don't know if this is a spoiler or not. I think you get to, and I can't remember if you said it, I think you get to combine the transformations at one point.
I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't gotten that far yet. I actually only in the last, so I went through the first main dungeon, like the castle. Is I went that far, so I probably played for like 2 hours or so today. And like wandered around. Like at one point, I wandered into an area that popped up level 20. And I'm just like, oh, wrong place. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Because like you level up, and like each area you go to will tell you a level. The dungeons will tell you what level they are, so you can at least like kind of keep track. Like, all right, no, I am properly leveled to be able to handle this. And then it's a lot of like hordes of enemies, and like I was saying before, each class transformation has like its own set of quests that you get. And those will give you XP to level up, plus they will also level up your transformation. So you have like a basic level. I think I'm like level 4 or 5, and that's your health, your mana, like all your normal stat basically. And then your actual transformations all have their own individual levels that they gain levels as you complete quests for those classes. And like the higher those levels, that is what unlocks like the next one in line. And you also get the ability to spend upgrade points to upgrade like abilities for them that have that they're usually locked behind like a specific class level. But most of the class stuff is just, using their abilities that you have unlocked at that point. So for the archer class, the ranger class, they had one that was like hit 4 enemies at once with the charge attack, and you have to do that like 20 times, and that's just get enemies in a straight line and hit them with a charge attack. Because the charged arrow will actually travel through them rather than just stopping at the first one. So a lot of them are like that. Like the first level of the quest is just hit enemies with this thing. And then the second one is like hit multiple enemies with this thing, or hit them in like a certain way, or like some combination of them. And it generally just adds more and more to it. Like the rat is like poison so many enemies, or consume enemies that have been poisoned. So you have to sort of get up to an enemy, hit them with the basic attack till they're poisoned, and then hit consume and do that 50 times or whatever.
Yeah.
It's neat though, and you didn't see it because of your whole phone debacle today, but I messaged you earlier asking if you and whoever you've been playing co-op games with on stream had access to Game Pass.
I do. He does not. So if it's on Game Pass, I could probably try to talk him into getting it for a week or for 3 months because he never got it before. Yeah.
So this game, it has online co-op.
Mm-hmm.
So you can play the game with another person, and I think it would actually be kind of like Castle Crashers. Like it looks like it would be a fun game to play co-op if you like playing co-op stuff. And I think it's just goofy and light enough that would be good for like streaming also. It's $25 on Steam, or it's in Game Pass. So it's one of those like, it's actually probably worth the $25, but I know you don't always have the money to just drop on games like that. So,
mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd have to look into it, because if it's cheap on Steam and he doesn't want to get Game Pass, I could just look and see if there's crossplay. If so, then we're good. If not, then me and him, we have a bunch of games we have to play still. We're playing through Deep Rock Galactic right now. I just gave him Monaco, which is like an older school style game. And then remember that game that was available on PS Plus a while back, Operation Tango?
Oh, yeah. You and Drew played that.
Yeah, me and Drew played it once on stream. Me and him have those games, or at least I have them, saved on my wish list. And the team who did those games, they have like a 4-pack, so we're waiting for a sale to come for them, and we're going to get them and play them all together, too. We have a bunch of stuff that we're working on right now. Deep Rock, as well as Apex, because we go back to that from time to time. That's going to hold us up for a long time. But yeah, it's a good idea to think about that one, too.
Yeah, and like I said, I played for like 2 hours, and I enjoyed a whole bunch of, I enjoyed it a lot, and I will probably keep playing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't look... So there is no crossplay between Steam and Microsoft.
Yeah.
So you'd either both need it on Steam or both play it on Game Pass. And I feel like if your friend hasn't signed up for Game Pass at all yet, and even if he has, like, the $10 for a month is definitely a better deal than the $25.
As long as it's a game that we can beat in a month, because we only play it once a week. So
let's see how long. See how long to beat.
You're talking about competent gamers who work well together, though. Me and Timmy are constantly yelling at each other for dying.
So it's 25 hours for a completionist.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to beat it in time, because we only do about 2.5, 3 hours a night whenever we do stream together.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
it's one of my shorter stream nights is with him, because I'm not going to force him to play games longer than he wants to play.
That's fair. But it's cool, though. I mean, even if you weren't playing co-op, like, I definitely recommend checking it out. I'd say maybe you check it out on Game Pass, like, play, like a dungeon or whatever, see if you just like the atmosphere and the gameplay. This way you know if, like, because you can at least then judge it, be like, okay, like, this is a game that I think is worth $25. Let's, like, see if we both want to invest $25 into this when we need another thing to play.
Yeah.
Or, like, wish list it so you can buy it later if maybe it hits a sale or something. Because, like, it's only 2 months old. Like, it came out the end of January.
Yeah.
Where are we? So I guess I'm just going to keep talking. I watched the first episode of Moon Knight.
Nice. How was it?
I liked it. Do you know anything at all about Moon Knight?
I know that he hears voices. That's really about it. Like, he's a superhero, kind of very similar-esque to, like, a Batman type thing, but he's also, or at least everyone thinks he's crazy, and hears voices. That's really it. I don't really know much about him.
So voices, at least in the comic, is not necessarily like the thing. But I don't want to spoil anything because I was actually curious how much you knew about him. He is generally like a lot of people compare him to a Batman-esque character, even though they are very, very different. I think the two things they have in common is like they play off of vengeance. They're more brutal fighters, and they're both rich. Moon Knight kind of like varies in that because like sometimes he's very rich, other times he is not very rich. So like it kind of all depends on like what the story needs him to be at any given time. But the show is the first episode was interesting. It had a lot of cool. It has implied action, whereas they don't. There aren't any fight scenes in the show. There are a few like actiony scenes, like car chase sort of stuff, like things like that. But all of like the fight scenes, like direct to action, is all implied. Like it's like quick cuts where something's about to happen, and then it cuts to that thing already being done. And there's a reason for it, and it visually and just story wise is actually very cool. Like I liked it a lot. And I think Oscar Isaac is playing it really well. Like I really like what he is doing so far. My only real concern, and this was even like just coming from the trailers, like they seem to be leaning into Moon Knight having like powers. And like traditionally, he doesn't necessarily have power in the comics. He is the Fist of Khonshu, or Khonshu, however you want to say it, which is like the Egyptian god of the moon. Whether that is really the Egyptian god of the moon or not, I don't know. But like that's who it is in the comics. And like there have been various times where he has had powers, but generally he is very much Batman. Like he's a guy in a suit who goes around and fucking punches people in the face. Like that's his superpower. He's, very athletic, like good, like a good tactician, all that fun stuff, and that's sort of it. But in this, like even in the trailers, like they show like his eyes glowing and like the suit wrapping around him in a couple of them. And I'm just like, okay, so what are they doing with the character? Kind of like with Miss Marvel, like what are they doing with these characters that are making them like different? And I'm curious to see how that goes. But I think this is going to be another good one because it seems like it's going to walk that like. It's going to have, like, its silly parts, but then it's also going to have, like, good action bits.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it. I've gotten a little spoiled lately with these streaming shows, not necessarily, like, the Disney Plus stuff, but a lot of these shows were doing, like, the first, like, 2 or 3 episodes releasing at once.
Yeah, all the Disney shows were doing 2 episodes at the start, or, like, first 2 episodes at launch.
Yeah, and I mean even other stuff like we watched Marvelous Miss Maisel on Amazon, and I want to say it was like the first 2 of those might have actually been 2 at a time, just like Legend of Vox Machina was, or it was at least like the first 2 or 3 went up like together.
Yeah.
And like there were a few other shows like that where it's just like, hey, here's like the first 2 or 3 episodes of the season, and then we'll go weekly. And then this is just like, nope, here's 45 minutes. See you next week. For the next 6 weeks, because it's only 6 episodes. And I'm like, like I get it. It's 6 episodes. Like you don't want to just like dump them all up front and then like it be over even sooner. But the first episode, there's never enough happening. Like you always want to see more from that first episode. So that was the biggest bummer. Is just like it ended, and I'm just like, but what about more? But I think you'll like it. Especially if you've liked all the other like Marvel stuff so far. Like I don't see why you wouldn't enjoy this one. Like the cast seems fun. I forgot Ethan Hawke was in it until Ethan Hawke was in it, which that was like
I love Ethan Hawke. I love Ethan Hawke so much.
Yeah, so like he is in this first episode. Like I said, Oscar Isaac is doing a great job. His British accent is, I feel like it's intentionally a bad British accent, but I'm not sure.
I hope it's not intentionally.
No, like, I think it's actually supposed to be a bad British accent. Like, I don't think it's just, like, I don't think it's him being bad at it. I think, like, he's purposely putting on this, like, slightly too much British accent, but, like, it's not, like, a comically too much. It's not like, oi, governor, what are you doing? It's like, you know, like he's still trying to be like a regular British person, but it just feels a little like phony.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I mean, he's very like, I don't know. It's good. I'm trying not to spoil anything because Moon Knight's a weird character, and like if you don't know anything about him, like I'm actually curious to see what you think once you see like what they do with him and kind of like
Yeah.
what Moon Knight actually is.
Yeah, I'm super interested and excited to see what they have in store for him because I know he's a weird character, and that's what I was excited about when they announced him. Plus, Oscar Isaac is one of my favorite actors of all time, so just you can't get enough of him.
Yeah, and he is good in pretty much everything. Like
Yeah,
even in the parts of the sequel Star Wars stuff that aren't good, like he was always fun.
hmm
Like he was just there having just having a good time all three movies.
hmm
But yeah, Moon Knight. We probably won't talk about it every week for the next 6 weeks, but you know,
No, we'll probably talk about it again tomorrow. Not tomorrow, next week, and then just wait until the end of the series. It's usually how we go about the series is we talk about the first one or two episodes, and then we let it ride and see how it ends. And it's usually the end is talked about the week following because we can't always watch it that day.
Yeah, and it coming out on Wednesday, like there is a chance I won't be able to watch it every Wednesday. Like Erica doesn't always want to watch these. Like she kind of gives the first episode or two a chance, and then if it clicks for her, she keeps watching it. If not, like I just watch it on my own. So she liked the first one. So like next week, like we'll watch the second one together. But depending on like when she gets home from work on a Wednesday, like Wednesdays are weird because some weeks, like I don't get home till 4:30 most Wednesdays. She sometimes gets out at 4:30 and is home by like 5 on Wednesday. But most of the time, like her normal schedule is she gets done around 5. So it's kind of like up in the air, like whether or not she'll be home early enough for us to fit a 45-ish minute show in before we record. But we shall see. At the very least, next week we'll get your opinion on the first episode.
Yeah, I'll have at least first episode, hopefully the second one, unless I end up breaking my phone again next week, which I hope not.
Maybe put a case on this one.
I had a case on the other one. I'll explain afterwards.
All right, so the last thing then, it's more me. Sorry, guys. I just wanted to talk real quick about some anime.
Anime?
Yeah.
This is anime crap.
It's fun.
Is it?
Ish.
It is fun. It is fun. I miss watching anime.
It's fun adjacent. So this past week, we finished up Black Clover, which I still think you'd actually really enjoy that show. It's long though, which I feel like you just won't get into because it's too long.
I've heard about Black Clover. It is I am interested in it. I'm not saying I'm against it. I don't mind long animes. I don't know what it is. I just haven't really.
Yeah, so it's 100. It's not even like Naruto or One Piece long. It's only 170 episodes. It's kind of like it's Bleach adjacent as far as like setup is concerned. Like it's a world where magic exists. Everybody has magic. It's like a fantasy setting too. So like it's not like a modern world thing, but everybody generally has some magic. And I guess like My Hero, it would also kind of be relevant here, where like a very small percentage of the population has little to no magic, and the main character has no magic. His best friend and rival is the most magic, like too much magic, and that kid basically when they hit like 15, there's like this ceremony where everybody that's like 15 they go and they get a grimoire, like a magic book, that as they get more powerful, their book will fill with more spells that they can cast, essentially. And everybody goes, and his friend gets like this like super special one with a 4-leaf clover on it, and he doesn't get one at all because he has no magic. And then, like, later on, his friend gets jumped for his book, and he ends up manifesting his own black grimoire that's a 5-leaf clover. And he's able to pull these giant fucking swords out of it. And his swords are anti-magic. So, like, he can just, like, cut a spell in half, or, like, block it, or knock it back at people, all sorts of weird shit. And it just goes on from there, where him and his friend both go join what is essentially, like, the Soul Reapers. There are like 9 squads of different groups with like each captain is their own brand of awkward. So like the main character Asta ends up in what is essentially the black sheep. They're called the Black Bulls, but like they're the ones nobody wants. There are a lot of like disgraced nobles and ex-criminals and drunks and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But they're also like super strong. It's just none of them try until Asta shows up and kind of like gets everybody's spirits back up, and like they go from literally the worst to the second best.
Yeah.
So it's very much like biggest complaint people have about this show is the first like 20-ish episodes, 20, 30 episodes. Asta is loud, and he's like the obnoxious Naruto, like always yelling, always over the top, like he just yells about everything. But like as it goes on, he calms down a little bit, he gets more control over things and like becomes just more skilled in general. Mm-hmm. And like very, very much like in Naruto, like he just kind of like, he's still that character, but he's just a little more relaxed. And like the whole goal here is Asta and his friend Yuno both want to be what they call the Wizard King, which is the head wizard, the head magic person of their country. And yeah, they fight devils and other magic users from other countries, and it's over the top stupid anime bullshit. It ended though, so it basically the anime caught up to the manga. I actually looked this up. The very last episode came out in Japan in like March of 2020. And that manga chapter was released it came out March of 2021 in Japan. And then that manga chapter came out in November of 2020. So there was only, 3 months, 4 months, something like that between the two. And there has only been like 60 chapters since then. Mm-hmm. So like there is not much like room for it. And because it was still in that traditional like shonen, it just airs all year long. They would have hit like a Naruto or Bleach thing where it caught up and they were just going to do 2 years of filler. And it would have just sucked and everyone would have been miserable because they set it up where the show ends with, all right, we have 2 days to prepare for this war. And like, you cannot stretch 2 days of training into 2 years of filler in any reasonable fucking manner. So they just ended the show at 170 episodes on a fucking cliffhanger. But while it's a cliffhanger, it's also like one of those like, okay, like this is a mostly reasonable place to end this. Like a bunch of stuff just happened. It's kind of like Empire Strikes Back. They are kind of at the low point because like 2 of their captains that were 2 of the strongest captains got taken captive. A bunch of their people got just fucking destroyed. One whole squad, half the squad is dead. Like they were not really pulling punches. Yeah, like the strongest of the Magic Knight squads, half of them died in a fight. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just a bunch of people either got kidnapped or murdered. So they're in a position now where it's like, okay, like they have to get ready to go storm this country and try and beat these people that have the power of devils. And they have 2 days to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Apparently they're doing a movie this year, I think it's supposed to come out. I don't know whether it's going to be like a My Hero movie where you can kind of see where it would fit in the story, but it is not part of the story. Or if it's actually going to be like a canon, like this is the next thing that happens in the story. And we're just going to do it as a movie because we don't want to make you wait like 2 or 3 years for there to be enough content for us to do another series.
Yeah.
Because the manga is still ongoing. So, like, who knows? It could be a while. Like, they could never bring the series back, or it could be quite a while before they bring it back.
Hopefully they bring it back.
I hope so.
You talking about this made me think of Attack on Titan, and I was like, oh shit, when does that end? And it finally, the anime finally ends next week. Yeah, and actually, just because I know you watched the first season, the Demon Slayer, mm-hmm. the English version of... You never watched the movie, right? No, I never got to the movie.
So they did a mini arc. It's like 7 or 8 episodes, I think, of the movie, where like they actually like stretched it out and expanded on things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second season, the Entertainment District, is almost all the way dubbed, and both of them are completely available in subtitle.
Yeah.
So you may be able to actually check that out too, if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's down the line. I think what I'm gonna do is start watching Attack on Titan again, because I had the last season, which was broken up into 2 parts, left, I believe. And so I think I'm just gonna watch through it all again, and then get into the last season, because just to remind myself everything that happened, because it's been 2 years since I watched it.
Yeah.
It's such a good anime, but at the same time, it can be so heavy and hard to watch.
Yeah, we watched
how heavy it is.
We watched we finished the first season like a month ago, and haven't picked up the second season yet. Like that was one of those things. Like we finished the first season, and then jumped back over to Black Clover, because we had stopped watching Black Clover around when the pandemic started, because like all the delays were happening. Because at that point it wasn't quite simul-dub, I don't think, but it was like close. Like it was, maybe like a week or 2 behind the dub. And then the delays happened, and it was like months before the dub, like the whole show went on hiatus for a little while, and then the dub was behind by a whole bunch. So like I said, the series episode 170 came out in Japan and like over here subtitled in March of 2021. The dub for that final episode didn't come out until like November of 2021. So it was like a 6-month gap between them. So like I had just been basically waiting for that to finish, because a lot of those shows did not have a consistent like dub schedule. It's like for a while there, it was like maybe once a month a new dub for it would come out, and it's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna wait and just watch all of these, because we left off on like a mini filler block anyway. So like they were all one-off episodes. It didn't really matter if we just didn't watch for a while. But yeah, we did watch the last bit of the first season of Attack on Titan. I don't know if I like that show. I'm going to be honest.
It is. The first season is very rough, both like thematically and story driven, but the intrigue keeps pushing you beyond that. Like trying to understand why there's a fucking Titan in the wall, and just trying to pretty much understand what's going on with the world. And then as the more you watch, at least the way I went with it, or the way it came to me, is the more I watched, the more I got into it. Because that's just the more and more it revealed and unveiled, and then just like the insanity that happens in season 3, and then what you learn during season 3 going into season 4, and it's bonkers. It's bonkers, like what they came up with.
Yeah, like I unfortunately did have a thing spoiled, like unintentionally, about like the later half of this last season. Like I found out who an enemy ends up being.
Yeah.
Which was a bummer, but like looking at it like from the first season, no one is likable. Like there's not a single character that I give a fuck about and hope they live.
I feel like they do that on purpose. Like you're supposed to have feeling. You're supposed to like care about Aramin and I can't remember the main characters' names.
Eren,
Mikasa, Eren,
and Mikasa. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're supposed to care about them, but like it's more like, I don't think it's more about worrying and caring about the characters as it is like the intrigue of what the hell's going on in this world. And it just, like I said, it opens up and gets better the more you learn about it.
Yeah, and like that's the impression I've gotten. That's why like I'm still willing to like keep going with it. But like that first season was very character driven, but like none of the characters are interesting or like likable. So like
yeah,
I know people always talk about Mikasa and Levi as being like cool characters in the show, and like I guess like from what they do, like they're both very good at like fighting Titans, but like they're not interesting characters. They're very monotone and boring.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like they're cool characters, but I don't understand the love for Levi. Like I don't understand it. He's a badass. Like that's cool. So is Mikasa. Like she's a badass. That's cool. But like I agree. I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Yeah, so that's just like nothing. There is nothing after watching that first season where it's like, cool, I need to watch season 2 now. Like I'm just like, okay, yeah, so like somebody else was able to turn into a Titan. All of these characters suck. Nobody is interesting. I'd actually kind of be okay if they just focused on the Titans killing them all. Because at least the Titans are weirdly interesting. But like they don't really spend any time in the first season. They don't spend much time on that side of it. It's mostly about them training and then being murdered in waves. So like the most interesting thing was like that female Titan that ends up being one of them.
Yeah, and then it gets, there's a bunch more special Titans, and it gets wilder and wilder, and then like what you learn about the special Titans is pretty wild as well. So
yeah, and like that is definitely the thing that like I'm interested to like get into more, but like I'm in no rush.
Yeah, it's and you know what? You would be the target audience for the show when it first came out, because season 2 didn't come out for like a year and a half after. And the worst part was I watched season 1 as like season 1 finished on Netflix, and then they never got season 2. So I didn't know that they even continued the series until like 2020, when I was like, "Oh shit, it's all on Hulu."
Dude, it's even longer than that. So season 1, 25 episodes, 2013. April to September 2013. Season 2, 12 episodes, April 2017.
Yeah.
Like, it was 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was basically like every year after that was at least a portion of a season. So season 3 was 22 episodes split in 2 parts. The first 12 were July through October of 18. The last 10 were April through July of 19.
Yeah.
And then this last season is 28 episodes, and it's 16 were December through March of 2020 to 2021. And then the last 12 started in January and have not finished yet.
Yeah. It finishes next week.
Is next week the final episode?
Yeah, the 3rd or the 4th, something.
Oh, yeah, April 4th.
Yeah, the 4th.
Oh, wow, this is not that far behind on English releases, it looks like.
I think they simuldub it.
No, but like, no, I mean like,
sure
like, it's damn close, but I mean like, literally, so Wikipedia shows the actual, like, TV air date, and, episode 25, which originally aired March 7th, 2022, will be airing April 10th of 2022 on Cartoon Network. So, like, they're a month behind on Cartoon Network, which is pretty damn good for that. Like, Cartoon Network still hasn't finished Naruto Shippuden.
Jeez.
Like, they're showing that and Boruto, like, at the same time.
Yeah, which is bonkers to me, that they're showing them back to back, when it's like, how can you do that when the show is still airing new to you guys?
Yeah.
Like, I understand if you're airing them next to each other because you've aired all of one, but like, you can't do Naruto and Boruto.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. But so the last thing I wanted to mention was One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
So I am.
Oh, that's One Punch Man. Sorry,
man. That show is just so goofy.
Yeah.
One Punch Man also, but we're about 150 episodes in, so we still have about 1,000 to go.
Yes.
But like, I definitely see why people like the show so much. Because even the filler arcs end up being interesting. Like, they're not all, like, so we just finished, like, probably the biggest arc so far. Like, all the other main arcs have been, like, relatively contained. I want to say the one we just finished had to have been, like, 40 episodes or something like that. And it was basically, like, for a show about pirates, they spent the whole time in the fucking desert. Which is very funny to me. But it is, like, from what I've gathered, it is one of those, like top 10 arcs of the series that has been, for a series that has been going on for 20 years. So, like, it's a well-regarded one as well as being one of, like, the biggest early on. And, like, it immediately dumped into, like, I don't know, I guess it's, like, 15 episodes worth of filler afterwards, give or take. And, like, we're coming up on, like, the end of those episodes. But, like, the first, like, 4 or 5 after are just, like, a bunch of one-shots kind of focusing on individual characters, which is nice. And then, like, it just jumps into, like, 2 little, like, mini arcs that were both, like, they're nothing, like, I don't know that I'm going to remember them in a year, but, like, they weren't bad the way a lot of other shows are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of, like, Dragon Ball, like a lot of the other big shonen stuff, Dragon Ball, Bleach, Naruto, like 9 times out of 10, their filler episodes, if it was more than just like a one-off, were just straight garbage. Like, they weren't worth watching 90% of the time. And like this one, it's like, oh yeah, no, like they're not growing the characters at all. Like the end of that one big arc, they get a new crew member, and because they're not in like canon stuff, they're not really having her do anything. She's just kind of there in the background most of the time, and no one's really interacting with her. And like I get that, like you're saving that because the next arc is probably going to involve her being like becoming part of the team essentially.
Yeah.
But it's a little weird, but like the arcs itself are like still fun. And the one thing I wanted to mention is there's a character in this one, Zenny the pirate. And he's like this old man who lives on this island all by himself and wants to be a pirate. And I had to look him up because I swear to fucking God, it's Travis doing his like Chetney voice. And it turned out not fucking Travis doing his Chetney voice.
Yeah.
But like every time this guy talked, I'm like looking at the screen, I'm like, no, that's Chetney. Like that is the old man voice that Travis uses. It is dead on the same fucking voice. I did find out though that Travis is like a main character in One Piece at one point, or not a main character, but a major character. Mm-hmm. He plays Luffy's brother at one point.
Okay.
Yeah,
he is. Let's see. He's voiced by Charles C. Campbell in the United States.
Oh, did you? English. Yeah, and he. I looked him up the other day, and he does do. He has voiced other characters, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know that. Oh, he's Gran Torino. Mm-hmm. In My Hero, and like there were other things on his list of stuff that I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I recognize that voice. Like he definitely does these characters. It's funny because so One Piece that like is streaming in a dub on Funimation, it's the Funimation dub. So when that show originally came out in the US, it was for kids, the people that used to own Pokemon. Mm-hmm. And they dubbed the first 150 episodes, like basically where I'm at, that like they dubbed most of this, but they skipped a bunch of filler, like they just never dubbed it at all. And then when they stopped doing it and Funimation bought the rights, they just redid everything. So whenever I look characters up on this, it's like, oh, this character is voiced by this person and this person. Mm-hmm. And like sometimes it's just very funny seeing like, oh, that person did this voice in like 2002. Whereas in a lot of cases, it's like, oh no, they started voicing it in like 2011 when they finally dubbed it in the Funimation version. But it still it's got a lot of people that have been like doing like it's people that you don't see in stuff as much anymore. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like anime in particular goes through like waves where like a lot of the voice cast of like My Hero, like you're gonna see those guys kind of everywhere. Like, whether they're, like, main characters or side characters, they're all kind of, like, in everything right now. Whereas, like, 10 years ago, it was, like, a different set of people, and they're the ones that I'm seeing in One Piece right now. I'm like, oh, I recognize them from something, and it's, like, a thing I watched on, like, Toonami or something like that in 2004.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's a fun, goofy show. We'll probably never catch up to it. Mostly because they don't release dubs for it regularly, which is a fucking bummer. Like they're over 1,000 episodes, like in Japan. Like they've released over 1,000. The streaming dub is only up into like the 800s.
Yeah, well, is One Piece Cartoon Network? Do they have it?
They may, but it's basically, I think it's just a matter of Funimation started dubbing it when it was already like 10 years in.
Yeah.
So like they dub it and they seem to release the home video version of it in like batches. And around the same time, they will release like a new chunk of it on the streaming platform. So rather than it being like, oh, here's a new One Piece episode like every week, it's like, here's like 20 new One Piece episodes every 6 months to a year.
I feel like by the time you catch up to the 800, they'll have at least up to 1,000. And maybe they won't be making it anymore because 1,000 episodes is way too fucking much. And they need to stop. They just need to stop.
Are you familiar with Detective Conan?
No.
Hang on a sec. I want to get the
I'm familiar with Law and Order, but I'm not familiar with Detective Conan.
So Detective Conan has been going on longer than One Piece. It is up to 1,038 episodes. It started airing in 1996.
It's just too many. It's too many.
Yeah, it's the manga has been going since 1994. Mm-hmm. And like I want to say One Piece is like the manga started in 96 and the anime started in 99. So like, couple years you're different there. But so Case Closed is what it's known as in the US.
Yeah, I've seen Case Closed.
Yeah, it aired on like Adult Swim or Toonami or something like that for a little while in like the early to mid 2000s. But from what I understand, like for whoever bought the American rights to it initially just fucking butchered it, like changed everyone's name to like really stupid stuff and just like made it kind of like Phoenix Wrighty in the like character names and like jokey stuff when like that's not really what this is. But it's every like arc is like a new like murder mystery. And this dude has been coming up with these like actually interesting murder mysteries for like 26 years, 27 years, something like that. Almost 30. Almost 30 years he's been coming up with these things.
All right, so like that's different. Like that's more of like a procedural type thing. Like that's not terrible. Like One Piece, they're trying to get to the other side of the fucking world. Like
no, he's trying to find the One Piece.
Well, to find the one, from what my understanding, and I'm getting this, I believe, from an episode of Action. To find the One Piece, you need to get to the other side of the world, and there's only one way to do that, and it's a single path that circles you around the world to get to the One Piece. But if you veer off of that path, you have to go back to the beginning.
No, like it's like halfway there. So there is what's called the Grand Line, which is this one path that separates the East and West Oceans, and like. This world is predominantly oceans with just a lot of islands and like island clusters and stuff like that. Except for a band that runs around it that is, I assume, land. That's how it's portrayed at least. But in between that land, there is this path called the Grand Line, which is where like most of the pirates are, because that's where Gold Roger, who was the pirate king before this, said that he hid the One Piece. Before he died. So the way that the show is established is Gold Roger was killed, 15, 20, 30 years before the series, however long. I don't know exactly how long before. I guess had to be within like 10 to 20. But so he was killed like publicly, like executed, and the government thought that was going to like help them stamp out pirates because like the king of the pirates got caught and murdered. But he basically died by saying like, hey, I left my treasure out there, the One Piece, like, it is somewhere out in the Grand Line, find it and become the pirate captain yourself, or pirate king yourself. So, like, then everyone wanted to be a fucking pirate, basically. So the Grand Line is just this very, like, long, elaborate section of the world that, like, a lot of pirates and marines and other just shitty people exist. As well as, like, a bunch of, like, islands with civilizations and people that, like, aren't shitty. So, like, every arc in this thing just tends to be, like, them on a different island, like, trying to make it through. And, like, Luffy's group is, like, pirates, but they're not, like, awful pirates. Like, most of the pirates you meet are, like, your normal, like, pillage and steal sort of pirates. And Luffy's just like, no, I just want to be king of the pirates. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody. Like, I just want unlimited meat and to be the king of the pirates. That's it. But, like, it's fun. Like every arc is fun, and from what I've seen, like, they do, like, the characters do grow and change a lot over time. So,
yeah.
Who knows? Who fucking knows?
It's too long. It's just too damn long.
I mean, it is a lot. Like, 1,000 episodes is insane. I don't think we will catch up in any sort of, like, short... But you know what? In, like 3.5 months or so, we've watched 150 episodes.
Get a life. All right, guys? Get a life.
I mean, like,
obvious.
Yeah. We usually, like, depending on, like, what's going on, like, at most, we watch, like, 2 episodes of it a night. And that's, like... And that, like, varies. Like, right now, we're watching One Piece again. Like, over the last, like, 2 or 3 weeks, we were watching Black Clover. Maybe at some point, we'll jump... Like, there's some other stuff, like once Demon Slayer finishes dubbing the current season, like we'll probably jump over and watch like Demon Slayer until we wrap that up and stuff like that. So, in like 3 months we've watched 150 episodes, but we haven't watched every day or anything like that, and we don't watch 5 episodes a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun little show though. But I don't know, I guess that'll be a show.
I think that's a show. I think that's an episode.
Yeah. So in 2 weeks' time, we will have our next book club, which is going to be Ip Man, which you can watch on Netflix, right? Netflix?
Yes, Netflix.
And yeah, that will be on April 14th, when Drew is back. Drew is, I don't know, he's meeting Wings players or some stupid shit tonight. And then next week he's actually going on vacation. So, when he gets back, we're going to talk about Ip Man.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, good. So if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with your dollars, though, you can support us by going to your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. All that stuff helps and matters. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Twitter and Instagram. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo, and you can always send us emails to social@one-quest.com. Otherwise, we'll be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See yas.